All right, so for those of you all who have, been watching my channel for quite a long time, a lot of you all know that I do really like the note of vanilla in fragrances. Whether it be kind of like a supporting note or more of sort of like a main focus of the fragrance. I do really like, when vanilla is done pretty well in a fragrance. So what I have here today is going to be my top 10 list of vanilla scents that I currently have in my collection. Most of these are going to be full bottles that I have, but I do have like 2 samples on this list, that I don't have full bottles of quite yet. So just to start the list off here, I'm going to start the list off with, let's go ahead and start this one off with the fragrance from French Avenue. This is one of the aromatics collaborations, and this is Xandal. So Xandal, for the most part, what you get with this is you get a very kind of boozy rum note up top. When you first spray this on, it's not as sort of prominent as what you would get in something like Vampirum from the Lorenzo Pizzaglia. This isn't necessarily like a clone of that particular fragrance. There are definitely some differences with this, and I actually prefer this a lot more than what I do the original fragrance. But the one thing that I will say is the rum note in the Vampirum. The rum is definitely a little bit more realistic, and it holds on to that rum note a little bit longer than what this fragrance does. You do get it briefly, within this particular fragrance. I would say it's maybe for like a couple of minutes, like 2 or 3 minutes, and then it definitely starts to fade more into like a chocolatey sort of patchouli, like a chocolatey patchouli, like chocolate truffle, vanilla. Like it leans a little bit more into that, and the booziness definitely goes away, once the fragrance starts to really kind of like dry down. But either way, man, like I said, I prefer the way that this one is done more than I do Vampirum. Vampirum in really every Lorenzo Pizzaglia fragrance that I've smelled so far, they all kind of have like this really sort of like medicinal type of smell to them that I really, really don't enjoy that much. I mean, I'll try more of their fragrances, but it seems like that's kind of like a signature of their fragrances, at least the way they wear on my skin. They wear very sort of medicinal to me, and I don't really like that. This to me is definitely a lot more, mass appealing. It's a lot more wearable, and the performance on this is also very good as well. So, you're going to get well past 8 to 10 hours or so of total longevity with this. And the projection on it is also pretty beast mode as well. So, you're going to get well over arm's length for about the first 2 to 3 hours or so. And then it does dial back a little bit, but it never really becomes like a super weak scent. So this is also something that, you'll want to pay attention to how many times you spray it for sure, man. But I do think that this is a very sort of unique take on, again, kind of like a chocolate truffle sort of chocolatey patchouli vanillic type of scent. And at first I didn't really care for the way that this smelled, but as I wore it more and more, I did start to really like, the way that this smelled. So again, man, definitely check out Xandal from French Avenue. All right, next one on the list. This is a fragrance that like years ago I had bought a full bottle of. It was actually the 100 ml bottle. And I had it for a little while, used it, loved it, and then just all of a sudden one day I just kind of felt like, hey, I haven't really been wearing this fragrance like that much. Let me go ahead and sell it. And then here recently, I wanted to get this fragrance in my collection again. So this one is from Serge Lutens, and this is Serge Lutens Bois Vanille. So Bois Vanille, this is, to me, at least the way that it wears on me, is it wears as like a very kind of like syrupy, type of vanilla scent. So it's not really like, you know, powdery. It's not like a dusty vanilla or anything like that. It comes across very kind of like, I don't want to say like vanilla extract necessarily, but it's a very kind of like syrupy, you know, type of vanilla. So it is definitely sweet, but it's not like overly syrupy and sweet at the same time. This also, to me, at least the way it wears on my skin anyway, it kind of comes across a little smoky a little bit, almost. So like a slightly syrupy, slightly kind of smoky, and you know, you could even say slightly kind of floral type of vanilla. I do think that this is technically, you know, kind of more so marketed towards women, but I mean, at least for me anyway, I do still like the way that this smells a lot. You know, for some, you probably could say that it may be feminine leaning. I mean, at least to me anyway, it smells pretty unisex, especially if you are a guy that likes, you know, vanilla scents. I do think that this is a very good choice, even still. And I mean, the only thing that I guess you could say is possibly a downside to this fragrance is this doesn't really project that well. You know, the projection on it, I would say for like the first hour to hour and a half, it's gonna be like around half arm's length. So I would say this is definitely like the weakest fragrance on this particular list, but it does definitely linger for a while. So this is definitely gonna be a fragrance that, you know, even though you're not going to get much projection, it's more going to be like a more so like personal type of scent. This is still going to be something that's going to last like around that 7 hour mark or so. So I mean, you know, that is going to be a pretty decent amount of longevity. You know, it's going to get you through most of the day for the most part. And you can always kind of reapply this. This is also not like a super expensive fragrance either. I want to say I picked up this 50 ml for, I don't know, like around $60 or so. So, you know, it's a very accessible, very, you know, affordable niche fragrance. I believe Serge Lutens is a niche fragrance house. So definitely, man, I would absolutely recommend Serge Lutens, even though this is an older fragrance for sure. To me, it doesn't smell super mature or super old. It is definitely still going to be a scent though that it's not going to be the most casual everyday wear type of scent. You know, I would say you definitely have to be kind of in the mood to wear this one. But yeah, man, it's definitely, it's one of my favorite vanilla scents for sure, and that's why I picked up another bottle. So again, check out Serge Lutens Bois Vanille. All right, next one on the list, this is another niche fragrance. This one is from the house of Initio. This is Initio's Absolute Aphrodisiac. So Absolute Aphrodisiac, this is one of the better performing vanilla scents on the list, I would say for sure. Has really good projection for sure. And the longevity on it is also very good as well. I typically get, you know, well past 8 to 10 hours with this. And basically, I would say the best way for me to kind of describe Absolute Aphrodisiac is this is a very sort of like sexy, animalic, you know, musky sort of take on vanilla. That's the best way for me to kind of describe it. I do believe that there are like some florals or whatnot in this particular fragrance. There's probably even like some hedione in this fragrance as well. I know that's a really popular note that Initio likes to use in a lot of their fragrances. But the way that this kind of comes across, at least on my skin, is it does kind of come across a little sort of musky, at least on my skin. And it smells, I would say, almost kind of like raw and raunchy, but not like in a bad way, like not to the point where like it stinks in any sort of way. It's just, to me, it's almost kind of like, I guess you could say like a sort of like how you see these fragrances that are like pheromone based. I feel like that's kind of like the vibe that you get with this. You know, where I could easily see this kind of smelling different, maybe on different people's skin. It definitely, it works for me anyway, and it also, it's not like a super like feminine style vanilla, at least in my opinion anyway. This to me is definitely very kind of unisex for sure. So I mean, I think on men it's going to smell a certain way, and then I think on women it's going to smell a certain way. But I think either way, whoever is wearing it, you know, as long as their skin is clean, I think, you know, this is going to smell really amazing. Like I said, performance on it, I easily get, you know, well past 8 to 10 hours or so every time I wear it. And the projection is really good, at least, you know, arm's length or so for about the first 2 hours or so, normally is what I get. So yeah, man, this is a very, very underrated vanilla scent, in my opinion, that I don't think gets talked about enough. So again, man, definitely check out Initio's Absolute Aphrodisiac. All right, next on the list, this one is from Lattafa. This is, I would say, one of Lattafa's most underrated fragrances that they've released this year. And this one is Asad Bourbon from Lattafa. So Asad Bourbon from Lattafa, this, to me, it definitely gives me like Valentino Born Aroma Intense types of vibes, but it's not like a clone of that. It's not, you know, anywhere near the same, but it does have that same kind of like vanilla and lavender sort of vibe that, you know, you get from Born Aroma Intense. There's also I would say a very kind of woody undertone to this fragrance as well. So it does have, you know, kind of like that masculine, but yet at the same time, sort of sweet and fresh date night type of fragrance style to it. This is, again, like I said, very underrated. I don't really see too many people talking about this fragrance. You know, I don't really see this fragrance coming up on, you know, many people's list or anything like that. But this is definitely worth, you know, a pickup for sure. Especially, again, if you're looking for like a date night type of fragrance that's within that same sort of realm as fragrances like, you know, Valentino's Born Aroma Intense. This is definitely a very affordable option, you know, when it comes to like a scent profile like that. This fragrance, I mean, I'll have links in the description to where you can, you know, pick up all of these fragrances, but I believe this fragrance, depending on where you get it from, is normally going to be probably anywhere from like around $30 to about $45 on the high end. I would say it's worth every penny of that for sure, you know, within that range. Performance on it is also very good. The projection is super strong on this one for at least like the first hour and a half, 2 hours or so. And then the total longevity on this is well past 8 to 10 hours. So really, really good performance. Quality on this is definitely, I would say, at least designer quality for sure. So this doesn't really smell like a cheap, you know, Middle Eastern style clone or anything like that. This is very, very, you know, I would say, like if I'm trying to think, like if a designer, like, I don't know, like let's say for instance, if Valentino, you know, made this another Born Aroma, you know, fragrance, obviously it smells very similar to something like Born Aroma Intense, but let's say Valentino put their name on it, put it, you know, within one of their sort of Born Aroma bottles, they would easily probably sell this for like around anywhere from, I would say, $130 to $150 for 100 ml. So again, I definitely think that, you know, for that $30 to $45 range, this is absolutely worth it. Again, check out Asad Bourbon. Next one on the list, this one is from Banadir Fragrance, and this is Banadir Fragrances number 2. This is their take on Parfums de Marly's Althair. I do think that this is slightly better than the Liquid Brune from French Avenue. Now, I would say if you already have Liquid Brune, there's no need to go out and buy this, you know, unless you actually finish your bottle of Liquid Brune. But if you don't have Liquid Brune and, you know, you're looking at Liquid Brune and you're looking at all of the other sort of Altair inspired fragrances out there, then I would say, you know, for sure, number 2 from Banadir would be the one that I would recommend. You know, other than that initial sort of opening where you get the fresh sort of bergamot opening from Altair, to me, this isn't, it doesn't lean as much into that freshness. It kind of more so goes straight into like the vanilla and the spices and the orange blossom. The same sort of way, you know, like how you get with the Liquid Broom from French Avenue. But this overall, to me, just smells a little bit higher quality than what Liquid Broom does. I would say quality-wise, this is definitely like on par with the Parfums de Marly, for sure. Again, the only difference that I really pick up on is just that initial opening that lasts for maybe, I don't know, like 3 or 4 minutes or so. Maybe even less than that. But outside of that, this to me is like pretty much identical to Altair. Now, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't necessarily like project stronger or weaker than Altair. So I would say projection is basically, it's going to be like the same as what you get with Altair. And then the longevity with this is well past 10 hours. So a very nice, long-lasting vanilla scent. This is basically, it's like a kind of like whipped vanilla mixed with some spices and mixed with like a very sort of like clean orange blossom. You know, very, very mass appealing stuff for real. You know, I would say this is one of the most, this is, to me, is one of the better vanilla scents out there that have come out. I mean, I know like when Altair came out, I feel like a lot of people, they kind of felt like Altair was pretty basic. I mean, I guess in a way you could kind of say that, but at the end of the day, I feel like Altair, especially for a vanilla scent, it just works. You know, and it is definitely a masculine, you know, style vanilla scent that I feel like most men, especially if they're into wearing more kind of sweeter scents, maybe more date night or dark, you know, darker style scents. I won't say darker, but definitely more so kind of like sweeter and maybe more on the designer side. Then I would say you'll still like something like, you know, the Altair scent profile. So I don't think it makes any sense to really spend the extra money, spend, you know, over $300 for Altair when you can get this for like around $40 to $45. All right. So again, man, definitely check out Banadir's number 2. All right, next on the list, this one is another one from French Avenue, and this is French Avenue's Royal Blend Nero. So Royal Blend Nero, this is their take on Gissa Sava. You know, most people's experience with that scent profile is going to be Lattafa's Camera. So this absolutely does smell a lot like Lattafa's Camera, but I would say if you smell this side by side with Camera, there are definitely going to be, you know, some differences that you're going to pick up. To me, Camera is definitely sweeter, and you could say a little bit more feminine leaning than what this is. The dates are definitely more amped up and just overall sweeter in Lattafa's Camera. This also, to me, it doesn't wear like as dense as what Camera does. This is still very strong, and it's still like a beast mode type of scent, but to me, it's not as thick as what Lattafa's Camera is. And then I would say the other thing that I noticed with this fragrance that's a little bit different from, you know, Lattafa's Camera is I pick up on like a sort of leathery saffron note in this fragrance that I don't really get from Camera. And that to me makes this one a little bit more interesting, makes it a little bit more unisex, slightly even, you know, towards the masculine side, you could say, in terms of its lean. And I just overall, I think that this smells higher quality than what Camera does. You know, Camera is still a very solid scent for sure, but I just think this has a little bit more character to it, a little bit more sophistication, in a little bit higher quality than what Lattafa's Camera does. So again, man, I would definitely recommend Royal Blend Nero. The performance on it is also just as good as Camera. So you're gonna get really, really good projection well past the arm's length for at least like the first 3 hours or so. And then, you know, in terms of longevity, well over 10 hours with this. All right. So this is also very cheap right now, especially on sites like Joma Shop. I believe this normally goes for like around $30 for this 100 ml. So this is definitely worth a pickup, and it's not really that much more expensive than Camera. So again, check out Royal Blend Nero from French Avenue. All right, next one on the list. This one is from Cutledge, and this is Cutledge's Fursan White. So Fursan White, this is their take on Matier Premier's Vanilla Powder. This to me, I prefer over Vanilla Powder. And it's mainly because of the initial opening of Vanilla Powder. I mean, I would say really after that, the two smell for the most part almost identical. But this doesn't have the heliotrope opening that Vanilla Powder has. I don't tend to mind heliotrope in most fragrances that I've smelled it in, but the way that it's done in Vanilla Powder, I really didn't care for it at all. It really came across super strong, but really like kind of like it smelled very sort of like chemical smelling, I would say, and very kind of synthetic. That's the way that it smelled to me from the Matier Premier. This is a lot smoother, in my opinion, in the initial opening than what Matier Premier's Vanilla Powder is. And I mean, basically what you get with this is you get, I would say if you took like dried coconut flakes, you took those, you put a bunch of them in like a food processor, you ground them up, and then you mix that with like a vanilla powder, or like, you know, vanilla beans, like freshly scraped vanilla beans. That's basically what you get for the most part with this. There are like some, I would say, some underlying kind of florals that you get within this fragrance as well. But the main thing that you're getting is you're getting like a kind of powdery vanilla mixed with like a powdery coconut. This won't be necessarily for everybody. You know, I like it. I would say maybe for some men, they probably would consider this, you know, a little bit too feminine leaning. But, you know, at least for me anyway, I do enjoy the way that this smells. It's very sort of warm. It's creamy. You know, again, you do get, I would say, a heavy dose of that vanilla, but also, again, you are getting a very heavy, prominent dose of the, you know, like the ground, like dry coconut also. It's a very unique smelling scent for sure. So, I mean, I would say if you like vanilla scents, this is definitely one that you might want to try. If you're someone who tends to, you know, feel like most vanilla scents are going to be like a little bit too feminine for you, then I would say stay away from this one, because this definitely won't be for you. All right. The performance on this is not as good as what it is in the Vanilla Powder, but this is still a solid performer, especially for $40 for this 100 ml. The projection, I would say, is like slightly less than what it is in Vanilla Powder. And then the longevity is definitely not as good as Vanilla Powder. So the Vanilla Powder longevity, well past 10 hours is what I get. With this one, the longevity is going to be like around that 8-hour mark. All right. So again, man, definitely check out Cutledge Fursan White. All right, next one on the list. This one is from Bath and Body Works, and this one is Mahogany Woods. So Mahogany Woods, for the most part, what you get with this is you get like a very ambery, woody, vanillic type of scent. That's the way to describe this one. It starts off very amber heavy, and then, you know, you do smell a lot of those woods in the background, the mahogany wood. And then as the fragrance starts to dry down, I feel like it does definitely start to turn a lot more sort of vanillic for sure. And it's a very kind of like warm and creamy sort of vanilla. It smells very good, man. I would say it's a shame that this fragrance has not been produced more than what it has been. I was lucky enough to be able to pick this bottle up, a couple of years ago when they started selling this fragrance again in this particular bottle. I don't know if this is going to be something where like they'll only release this fragrance like every so many years or whatnot. I have no idea, but this fragrance is, I would say, one of the better fragrances out there, one of the better affordable fragrances. I was able to pick this one up for like $20 from Bath and Body Works, so got a really good deal on it. I think normally a lot of their fragrances are like around $30 or $40 or so. So I was able to get a really good deal on, a very kind of iconic, really well sought after fragrance. So really lucky to have this fragrance. And this is definitely, it's a very kind of like easygoing, casual, I would even say like date night type of fragrance for sure. This is definitely like a date night fragrance that you could wear outside, like in the winter and fall, even like the spring, I would say for sure. But this is also a fragrance that you can kind of wear just chilling around the house. You don't necessarily want to, spray on like your more kind of like higher end niche fragrances that are more expensive. This is something that you can kind of spray on and not necessarily worry about it. Now, obviously, this fragrance is not, it's not available from Bath and Body Works anymore. So, maybe this would still be a fragrance that you would only wear kind of, in certain occasions. But I think as long as this fragrance is still being produced and it's accessible, this would definitely be like a everyday kind of casual wear type of fragrance. I would say right now, from what I've seen, in terms of accessibility to this fragrance, that does seem to be a little bit better than what it has been in previous years. I've seen bottles of this on eBay go for like around $40 or so. Now, I don't know how, reputable the sellers are. So for this fragrance, I won't have any links in the description for this because, again, eBay is the only place that I've seen this sold. And I never include eBay links within the description for these videos. But I would say if you see this on eBay and, you recognize the seller, like, it's a reputable seller, you've bought stuff from them before, or you see that they have, tens of thousands of positive feedback, then I would say, you could probably pull the trigger on it and get yourself a bottle. But, if not, you may have to wait to see if they possibly release this one again. Or the other alternative would be the Fragrance World version Hardwood. To me, this does smell better than Hardwood, especially when it comes to the vanilla. The vanilla was definitely stronger in this fragrance. And this overall, just to me, it did project a little bit better than what Hardwood did. But Hardwood is still a very solid interpretation for like around $20. All right. So again, man, definitely check out Mahogany Woods. Performance on this is very good. I easily get like around 7 to 8 hours or so of total longevity. Really good projection for like the first hour and a half, man. So again, check out Mahogany Woods from Bath and Body Works. All right, next on the list, this is another one from Banadir Fragrance. This one I just have a sample of, but this I would say is easily the best YSL Babycat interpretation that I've smelled. This is for the most part identical to YSL's Babycat. This is Banadir's number 23. So Banadir fragrance number 23, when I sprayed this on, I instantly could tell that, okay, this is definitely higher quality and closer to Babycat than any other Babycat interpretation that I've smelled. Prior to smelling this, I was really high on Maison Alhambra's Ebony. That fragrance to me, it was, definitely the closest one that I had smelled for like the from like the affordable Middle Eastern brands or whatnot. To me, it's better than Rafaqat. You know, it's closer than Rafaqat is. But this fragrance easily is higher quality than even the Maison Alhambra for sure. And I mean, there's no sort of twist on this either. Like, you know, even with the Maison Alhambra, I mentioned with that one, the Ebony, it had, I would say, more pepper in the opening than what Babycat did. This doesn't have any differences in the opening, the mid, the dry down, like all throughout the entire fragrance. This is extremely close to Babycat. And like I said, definitely the closest that I've smelled for sure. Even closer than the Alexandria version. You know, there were definitely some times in the dry down with the Alexandria where I felt like the Alexandria was like slightly different than Babycat was. But yeah, man, this is easily, like hands down, the best one that I've smelled for sure. Performance on it, to me, I would say is like the exact same as what you get with Babycat. So the projection on this is not stronger or weaker than Babycat. So it's the same. And then for the longevity, it's the same as well. So, I mean, you know, this is going to last on you a very long time, like well past 12 hours or so. So again, man, I would say if you are looking for the absolute best YSL Babycat interpretation and you're not looking to spend, you know, a ton of money on it, this is definitely the best one out there, man. For $40 to $45, the quality on this is gonna, you know, easily exceed any other interpretation out there, man. So again, check out Banadir is number 23. All right, and then the last one on the list, man, this is definitely, it's one of the most, I would say, one of the most praised vanilla scents out there, you know, from one of the most praised brands as well. And this one is Guerlain's Spiritueuse Double Vanille. So this fragrance, like when I initially got it, I didn't really, I guess I didn't really get it when I first, you know, smelled this fragrance. Like it smelled okay, but I just it wasn't really doing much for me when I first initially smelled this. And that happens with me sometimes with fragrances, because honestly, that happened to me the first time that I smelled both this Initio's Absolute Aphrodisiac as well as Paragon. Like I definitely, I wasn't like that thrilled about the way that Paragon smelled. I mean, it smelled okay, but it just really, like, I guess I was expecting a little bit more from it. And then over time, I've grown to love Paragon. Same thing with this one, man. This fragrance has definitely been a fragrance that, you know, over time I've definitely grown to love. This is, in my opinion, like the cream of the crop when it comes to like vanilla scents. I don't necessarily know of any other vanilla scent that smells of, you know, the type of quality that you get with this. And that, you know, it just overall, it gives this really, I don't know, it gives like this really sort of soft, warm, and like really sort of airy type of feel. It's really the best way for me to kind of describe this fragrance. It's a very kind of like woody, sort of like bourbon vanilla type of smell. I would say is really the best way for me to kind of describe it. Maybe with a little bit of florals in the background, but not really anything that is like super prominent. Again, I would say the notes that I kind of pick up on the most are like, you know, the woody sort of aspect of the fragrance, and then, you know, the vanilla as well. This is, I would say, the best vanilla scent that I've smelled for sure. Like I said, it took me a few wearings to kind of get to that point, but I feel like one of the last times that I wore this, I was like, it was just like something in my mind, it clicked. It was like, okay, I totally understand why people give this fragrance so much praise. Now, obviously, the reason why I don't have a full bottle of this is because this fragrance is extremely expensive. I mean, I think the last time that I looked to see, you know, how much this costs for like a full bottle, I think it was it was over $300, I think, like almost four, I think. It was either almost four or it was like a little bit over $300. I can't remember. I don't know if I want to spend that much money on a vanilla scent. You know, now I have seen, you know, some people sell decants of this for what I think are, I guess, slightly more reasonable options. So like, I think the cheapest that I've seen like a 30 ml go for is like around $95 for Spiritueuse Double Vanille. I think, especially if you have like a really large collection, I'm talking about probably like well over 50 fragrances. Buying a 30 ml, you know, decant probably would make a lot of sense for like $100, because that is going to last you quite a while, you know, unless like Spiritueuse Double Vanille is like your signature scent and you wear it all the time. But if you only kind of wear a scent like this seasonally, then I do think, you know, maybe getting like a decant for like around $100, that is a pretty good deal. But if you are someone who really, really loves this scent and you wear it all the time, it's like your signature scent or one of them, then I do kind of think you have to just go out and buy like a full bottle of it. Obviously, this is one of those scents that I haven't smelled any sort of clone that's come anywhere close to, you know, the way that this smells. So, you know, that's also the other thing too, is there aren't really like alternatives out there, you know, that really come close to this. I still need to smell Alexandria's version of it to see, you know, if theirs comes close. If it does, then I think I'll definitely, you know, pull the trigger on that one. But yeah, man, again, I would definitely recommend Spiritueuse Double Vanille. Performance on this is pretty decent in terms of longevity. The projection on it though is not really that great. So I would say you're gonna get probably like half an arm's length for like the first 2 hours or so. And just overall some more kind of like closer, you know, to your skin type of scent. But it is a very beautiful scent nonetheless. So again, man, check out Guerlain's Spiritueuse Double Vanille. All right, and that is the list, man. Definitely let me know what you all thought about this list. Let me know if you have any or all of these fragrances, and if so, what do you all think about them? Do you love them? Do you hate them? Are some of these just okay? Let me know in the comments. Also, I'll have links in the description to where you can pick up all of these, with the exception of the Bath & Body Works fragrance. Like I said, I've only seen this one on eBay here recently, and I do not post eBay links within the description of my videos. All right, so also, if you're brand new to the channel, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe. And again, that's Jamar from Vegas Scents. I'll see you all in the next video.